Be still. We often meet those words in peaceful places, calm water, an open field, the first light of morning. Psalm 46 gives them a different setting. The ground is collapsing. Mountains are sliding toward the sea. Water is roaring. Nations are fighting. Weapons are burning. Into all of that noise, God speaks. What can stillness mean when the world is shaking? Psalm 46 begins as a song of trust. It was made to be heard by a community, and the poem never tells us the exact crisis that first brought these words to their lips. That uncertainty keeps us from turning one possible historical event into the whole meaning of the psalm. What we can hear clearly is the scale of the threat. The song moves through a world where creation itself seems unstable. Cities are vulnerable, kingdoms are falling, and war has filled the earth with its instruments. The people begin by naming God as their shelter and strength, help that can be found in trouble. They speak together of refusing fear, but their confession should never become a test that each person must pass alone. A communal song can carry people whose own voices are unsteady. One person may speak with confidence. Another may only be able to remain and listen. Both are still inside the song. Then the psalm imagines the collapse of everything that normally represents permanence. The earth changes beneath their feet. Mountains slide toward the depths. The sea surges around them, loud and uncontrolled. The image carries its own terror. If the mountains move, where can anyone stand? Instead of finding a stronger mountain, the song turns to God. That movement becomes clearer in the next scene. The violent sea gives way to a river whose streams bring gladness to the city of God. Rather than mapping this river, the poem directs our attention to the presence within the city. The city remains firm because God dwells there and brings help. The psalm now repeats a pattern. Mountains are shaken. The city is unshaken. Kingdoms will be shaken. The same family of words passes through all three images. Mountains may look permanent. City walls may look secure. Kingdoms may speak as if their power will last. Yet none of them contains stability in itself. The city's confidence comes from presence, not architecture. God is there. Then the roar returns in another form. Nations are in an uproar, and kingdoms begin to fall. The poem uses the same verb for the roar of the water and the uproar of the nations. The sound of chaos in creation has become the sound of human power struggling for supremacy. This is where the episode's central contrast becomes audible. The sea has a roar. The nations have a roar. Then God utters his voice. The earth melts. There is no long contest and no suggestion that these are equal powers. Noise can frighten, dominate attention, and cause real destruction. Authority belongs elsewhere. God rules without having to outshout chaos. The community responds with a refrain. The Lord of hosts, a title of commanding power, is with them. The God of Jacob is their stronghold. That combination matters. The God whose authority reaches beyond the nations is present with a vulnerable community. Their answer to upheaval is to locate their security in his presence, not to pretend his power belongs to them. The refrain supplies words already given. Trust grows through speaking and hearing them together, not through private determination. Before Psalm 46 ever becomes a personal verse, it is a shared confession. The final movement begins with an invitation to come and see what God has done upon the earth. The word translated as desolations is severe. The psalm leads us straight toward the ruins and refuses to make them beautiful. It asks us to look. Then it turns our eyes toward the end of war. Bows broken, spears shattered, chariots burned. The poem leaves many questions about violence and divine judgment unanswered. Why do some wars continue for generations? Why do innocent people suffer? Why does peace so often arrive after terrible loss? 11 verses cannot settle every mystery the text itself leaves open. Psalm 46 nevertheless makes a claim about violence. It does not last forever before God. The weapons that seem to govern the earth are denied permanence. In the vision of this song, they are made useless rather than preserved as sacred signs of human power. War is denied the final word. Only now, after creation has roared, nations have raged, and the instruments of war lie broken, does God give the command made famous by this psalm: "Be still." Here the words carry more force than a request to relax. In this setting, the command sounds like this: stop. Let the fighting cease. Recognize who is God. The psalm does not name one exclusive audience. Nations, warfare, the earth, and the worshiping community all stand within hearing distance. So the first movement of the command is public and cosmic. It interrupts a world that continues to fight as if force were ultimate. Raging nations cannot decide who is God, and a shaking earth cannot remove him. God will be exalted among the nations and throughout the earth, the same two realms whose upheaval has filled the psalm. The worshiping community hears the command too. For them, stillness faces reality with its eyes open. They have already named the roaring water. They have heard the nations. They have looked at the devastated earth. This command must never be used to demand passivity from someone in danger. A person may need to leave, seek help, speak clearly, or act with courage. A community facing violence can protect the vulnerable while still refusing to treat human force as ultimate. Wisdom and faithful action remain necessary. What, then, can this stillness mean for us? Psalm 46 gives us a sequence before it gives us silence. Name the roar. Look at what has been damaged. Hear the voice of God. Receive the refrain of the community. Then stop adding words long enough to remember who is God. This is different from trying to manufacture calm. Sometimes a room becomes quiet while one threatening conclusion continues to speak inside us. It tells us that what is falling apart must define everything that follows. We may answer by producing louder assurances, as though confidence depends on finding the perfect sentence. The psalm offers another response. We can let a shared confession carry us. The God who rules beyond the nations is with his people. The God of Jacob is their refuge. These words leave grief and uncertainty in view while placing our fear inside a larger truth. You may still need to grieve, act, or wait for an answer that has not come. Stillness can hold all of this while refusing to let the roar become the only voice left in the world. Now, listen to Psalm 46, verses 10 and 11. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Selah.